Hey there fans, welcome back to Prime Animations, welcome back to another toy review, another action figure review. Today we've got this giant size X-Men packaging, right, with our favorite, I don't know if he's from Ireland or Scotland, I think he's from Ireland. This would be Banshee, right, and one of the coolest characters to come out of the second wave of the X-Men team. Remember, the original X-Men team consisted of Cyclops, Jean, Iceman, Angel, and Beast, and they were captured, and so Professor X had to put a new team together, and that's where we get people like Banshee, Colossus, Storm, Wolverine, right? Thunderbird, if I'm not mistaken, right? Nightcrawler. So we got a bunch of new X-Men characters, and Banshee was one of those folks. Banshee was pretty cool because I do remember him in the 90s cartoon. He was a love interest of Moira McTaggart, right? So he had a couple of guest appearances in the original cartoon, so that was pretty cool. But as you can see here, this packaging clear. We've got a couple of accessories, a different head sculpt, so pretty cool. Take a look here in the back, and then we've got this entire wave here, right? And we've got a couple of non-X-Men characters other than, it says here Wolverine, but it says Dakin, so I think this is like a different version from a different universe or something like that. I'm not quite familiar with that, but yeah, you can see here, this is the comic that I was telling you about, right? This is where all of them come in. Giant size X-Men, you've got all the new characters coming in, so it's pretty neat. All right, so let's open them up and let's see what this character's about. All right, and here's Mr. Cassidy outside of the packaging, and this is his, I guess this would be his original color that he came in, right? There's another version. I have the box, I just haven't opened it, where they're in like their, I don't know, their Danger Room training outfit, which is like blue and yellow. There it goes right here. Here, I'll show you. So here it is right here. As you can see, it's still not opened, but it looks like it's essentially the same action figure, just with a different uniform. So pretty cool, pretty nifty. Let's get into what he looks like, right? So we've got, it's just a regular costume, right? There's nothing really big. It's your classic old style superhero costume. These flaps here are, I don't know if they don't seem to be coming off. I don't know if they're glued on or whatnot, but they're cloth, right? So pretty cool. I don't mind. I don't really care if they're cloth or plastic, whatever. If they're plastic, they should be able to move. But as you can see here, all right, we've got his head sculpt, which is pretty normal, right? Normal look, which is perfectly fine. We do have another head sculpt where he's screaming, which is adequate for the fact that, you know, he is that type of a, that's his mutant power, right? He screams, right? He's a Banshee. Ugh, Banshees scream real loud. And so anyhow, so take a look a little bit of his articulation, right? He's got a little bit of a, he's got a bend there at the torso. He does have his waist. His head moves up slightly. The collar on the costume does get in the way from this going up anymore. Then you've got your shoulder, right? And again, because it's attached and I don't want to pull this out, you know, you can't go all the way around. That's, I mean, you wouldn't be able to go all the way around in a human manner, in a realistic human manner, but there is limitation in that. His leg goes that way, his knee would bend that far back, and there is a double hinge right there, so that's good. That's always good for posability, right? Especially when it comes to flyers. But yeah, pretty solid looking character, right? All right, let's get into the accessories. All right, and looking at the accessories, first off, let's look at this little comic that he comes with, and it's the giant size X-Men comic, right? That's what he comes with. I don't really care for something like this. I think I have a Toad action figure that came with something very similar to that. Anywho, he's got 3 sets of hands, additional hands, aside from the closed fist that he comes with. It's got this one where it's kind of open, right? this one's closed, but it can hold something, right? If he needs to hold a gun or sword, I don't know when. And this one is indicative of him holding a gun, right? It's probably, I mean, number one, you can probably put this comic in there, like if he's holding it, possibly. But it looks more like he's gonna pull the trigger on a gun or something like that. I don't really know. I mean, alternate hands are always good, so I'm not gonna complain about it. But yeah, it is what it is. The face, the alternate face. This is great. I mean, if it didn't have this face, it would take down from, I guess, the coolness of this action figure. But as you can see here, he's got his mouth open. He looks like he's screaming, right? And that's his mutant power. He screams, and he's got this sonic blast that comes out of his mouth. So this would kind of give you the indication that he's using his mutant power, if you are familiar with the character, right? My complaint with the accessories is that there is no accessory to showcase his mutant power. There are certain mutants where it's very difficult to do that, but I think that, you know, when it comes to somebody like Banshee, you know, maybe some type of a circular, clear, you know, electric power, something like that. I don't know, something that looks, I mean, it doesn't have to be electric, right? I'm not saying that his power is electricity, but like something similar to that, where it looks like there's like something you know, coming out, where you can just put it over his mouth, and then it'll show like those sonic rings that are in the cartoon, right? I think something like that, it would be like a spiral, right? Would be good to showcase his power. So that is my only critique regarding this particular figure. Let's see how he looks with some of the other characters, like his family, right? All right, and we are back, and here we've got Black Tom, who they are siblings, they are brothers. I don't know who's the oldest and who's the youngest. I think Banshee's the older brother, if my memory serves me correct. First time I saw Black Tom was in the 90s X-Men cartoon, right? In the Phoenix Saga.
What was that? Sounds like the Lord of the Castle's come home to be buried. It'll be my pleasure.
So apparently Black Tom was working with Juggernaut, right? And it was a pretty cool scene, because this is where there's a standoff, right, between Black Tom and Juggernaut and the X-Men. And, you know, Juggernaut's a handful, and then Gladiator comes out of nowhere. Gladiator is like the alien version of Superman from Marvel, right? He comes out of nowhere, and then, you know, Juggernaut goes to hit him, and, you know, Gladiator doesn't even move, but then he picks up Juggernaut from the hand and just tosses him over the ocean, which was pretty cool. And then Phoenix comes, and then she pretty much, you know, does something similar to Gladiator. So it was an amazing sequence, right? But that's the first time that I get introduced to Black Tom. And what was really cool, and I was still very, very new to the comic industry, right? I didn't know a lot about comics, but what was really cool is that they used their powers on one another, and they canceled each other out. So the powers wouldn't affect the other one, which would be, like, if you remember that later on down the road, Cyclops and Havoc use their powers on one another. It has no effect. So, you know, it was a good indicator that they were related. And so here we have, you know, I guess the first time that happens within the show. And then, you know, they kind of taunt each other. It's like, oh, your powers could never work against me, little brother. And, nor yours can affect me. And so then they get into a fist fight, and it's like, yeah, fist always settle things, right? And so it was a pretty cool little clip there.
Nobody gets the lady without paying for her. Your powers never could hurt me, little brother. Nor could yours hurt me. Fists usually settle things. Aye, my fists.
But Black Tom is like this, I don't know, like a mercenary type of a character, right? A thug for hire. And then the other person that I want to bring in here is, I remember liking her from, I collected the cards, and that would be Banshee's daughter, Siren. I'm going to remove Black Tom, and hopefully she'll stand. I wasn't prepared to have her standing, so. And as you can see here, with Banshee and Siren, is that there's, even though the color scheme is the same, right? The green and that green and yellow combination. In her case, she has the X-Men logo, or the X logo here on her chest, and then there's a slight tone difference between the two greens. It's not the exact same green. The green on Siren is a little bit darker, but here you can see father and daughter together, which is pretty cool. So, bringing Black Tom back in, you've got the Cassidy family together, and these guys come from a lineage of royalty, because in that 90s cartoon there was Black Tom was at the family castle, like an old castle and whatnot. All right, so we've got the entire Cassidy family together, right? We've got dad, daughter, and then brother of Banshee, uncle of Siren, right? And yeah, so it looks like they were royalty, because in the 90s cartoon they were at a castle, and it was an old family castle because they had an old family crest. One of the visions that I don't know who it was that had that vision, and then Banshee was like, yeah, that's my family's crest. Oi, that's my family's crest, right? Type of thing. So pretty neat overall. We also got to see Banshee in the X-Men First Class movie. It was the first time. First Class was taken a little bit out of sequence for me regarding the age of all these characters, right? All these characters are existing at the same time in the comics, and in the movie, they're just at different timelines, which kind of changes the dynamics to a lot of things. But anyhow, that it is what it is. But yeah, he was in that First Class movie, and pretty good representation, not too bad. But guys, that's my review regarding Banshee. If you're a completist, you're gonna want to pick him up. I give him about, honestly, an 8.5. I think that missing accessory would have made him a lot cooler. Would have brought him up to like about a 9. Definitely something you want to display if you have a little stand of him flying. I would probably have him with his face screaming all the time. That's probably how I'll display him, but definitely something that's needed if you are, like I said, a completist. So guys, thanks so much for joining me. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out till all are one. Bye-bye.